Yes, sir. I'm gonna kick this off. Okay.
Yeah.
You guys know the source of all my news comes from FKC, and I saw a video that was really convincing. Apparently, at the end of your guys's posts, you said the future is bright, and that must only mean Soul Kendamas. Can you
Yeah.
confirm or deny?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. When I said the future is right at the end of mine, I recorded that in the morning and I was like, all right, this is gonna be my rough draft. I'll probably just redo it later. And then
Yeah.
I remember because I watched Zach first. I watched Zach do his first and then that just came out at the end. And yeah, we ended up saying the same thing, but I just ended up using that video because I was like,
Okay.
I don't have any other time. But
Whatever
yeah.
you say. Yeah, yeah. I'm totally believe.
Yeah, it's funny though to see people speculating and making memes about that specifically. It's
Yeah.
like I guess that
Yeah.
actually struck a chord with somebody. Yeah, but it's
Yeah, it's
funny.
ridiculous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny.
I sent my video to Nick. I was like, all right, here's the video I'm gonna post, by the way. And I posted it. Or well, then I didn't and then he like just saw it. And then I saw his before I posted mine, like on Instagram. I just sent it to him directly, but like, before that. And I saw that he said the same thing as me at the end. I'm like, oh, cool. I guess he might have taken that from me or something or whatever. Maybe it felt right for
Yeah.
him. And then I just posted. I'm like, oh, we guess we did the same thing. I actually didn't pay no mind to it. And then I saw people tagging me like in meme pages, like, what does it mean? Oh my god, like what does it mean? And it really, I mean, it just means in the literal sense that we're looking forward to the future, not that we're joining Soul. But it's funny to see that.
I don't know, Zach. I don't know, Zach. Who knows, man?
I know that's
Yeah.
exactly what I'd say for by covering something up. So,
You know?
uh,
That's happening. Yeah.
Yeah. All
yeah.
right. Sorry, I interrupted your intro, Zach.
No, you're good. That was good. I like that better actually. Yeah. But we're back with Isaac. We're back with Isaac, and today we're talking form, guys. Isaac is I want to say with confidence that he's the player with he's done the most analysis on form. He's talked about it the most. He's done videos on it in the past. He not only makes his own tutorials, but he breaks down other people's form as well. So he definitely is the player in the game that has published the most on form and has probably thought about it the most as well. I haven't heard many people talk about it the way he does. So Isaac, first off, Isaac, the person we're going to be highlighting today and talking about is Ryoga, and you just announced him on the Lotus team.
Sir,
How does that feel to have one of the best
dude,
players in
it
the world?
feels so great. I mean, he has so much potential. He's such a good player. He's so talented. He's so young. And we really, really vibed in Japan. He loves the element shape. And with Maharu there translating, it was really nice to get to know him. And he was on Dream before. I think this is a great step for him. It was all very cordial, but I'm really excited to see him again. We've been chatting a lot. And yeah, I'm just so excited to see like where he goes,
Hmm.
Like this year KDC, who knows?
Yeah, isn't his goal to win?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
of
goal is to
course.
win. So
Gotta
we'll
be.
see. Yeah, I mean, dude, like it's kind of funny because the way that he plays, I mean, he might just do a simple trick, but you could just tell by his control of like how much potential he has. Like his control. I'm not even talking about the Tama control video that I did earlier, but just like the tapping control, the juggling control, like he really makes Kendama look super special. Um, and I just feel like he's gonna bring Kendama to a whole new level, like when he
Hmm.
peaks.
Yeah, and he plays really compact. He knows that too. Like it's just all in a very tight space, and you never see him reaching for stuff. It's just he's got it. He's got it all in this window, and he keeps
Yeah.
his juggling, um, his Tama and Ken in just this box, and everything's just he never has to save anything. Well, I'm not gonna say never, but I mean, he doesn't have to reach, and it's just compact, and all super precise. And yeah, man, I'm excited to get into this form video today as well with this Tama control because it's truly like nothing anybody has ever seen up until this point with what he's doing. So Yeah,
Yeah.
gonna be great.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think the majority of the majority of like good to top players spin the Tama, as you guys
Mhm.
know. You guys both spin?
Uh,
Yep, I
Nick
spin off
spends a lot
everything.
more than me, but like
So,
I
okay,
off,
so
yeah, I do too.
so there, okay, yeah, I guess there's some tricks where you might ghost, and then there's some tricks that Nick will do the same trick and he'll spin. But I think for the most part, I've always taught spinning. And what we mean by spinning is mainly out of like an airplane. You do airplane 1.5. You spin the Tama so the bevel stays on top where you can see it. And then you go into a juggle, you go into um, I guess usually a juggle. I mean, maybe you go toss back to airplane, but obviously if you want to do 1.5 swap spike, you don't want to spin it because then the bevel's going to stay up top. But you guys like when you guys started way before me playing kendama, but when did you guys pick up on spinning? Did it kind of come naturally as you think about it, or did you guys have to like learn it specifically?
We had to learn it. 2015 was when we started because we saw Wyatt Bray doing it, and he was
Yeah.
spinning everything. Like he would spin everything, every single swap, every single toss. And we started to talk with COTK back then, and we when we started to hang out with him and see the Dom events, him and Eli Corey were spinning Tamas, and we thought it was a really convenient way to do like a swap down spike.
Yeah.
So yeah, I remember that we started learning it then, and it was definitely I remember it being kind of a pain to learn, but just also finding out that it wasn't only useful for swap down spikes was really intriguing because
Yeah.
once Nick was always a little bit ahead of me on the spin. Um and once Nick was started to find out like how he could do 1.5 swap toss airplanes with the spin and not having to think about where the hole is on that move because he was spinning it, so he'd always just be one less thing to think about it and how that was helpful. That's when I realized like, wow, this is really useful.
Yeah.
And now today's game where I mean you see Nick, I mean Nick spins off everything. And that's why I always kind of joked back in the day, like, Nick has the best. I would tell people like, oh yeah, Nick has the best ball control because it's literally the same juggle every single time. Like it's the same.
Yeah.
It's not. She's not juggling from a different point of the tom. It's literally in the same spot every single time, and that's why he has the best one because it's the same type of control. So yeah, back in 2015, we started doing that.
Gotcha. Yeah, okay. That's interesting. Yeah, I remember watching an old catch and flow run of Wyatt, and he just is hitting, 2.5 down spikes, 1.5 down spikes, spinning it every single time. He'll hit a tap, he'll go to down spike in his hand, and then the time is spinning, so he'll spike
Mm.
it. So I imagine that he was an originator of the tech, but yeah, I mean, it makes sense that it's really important and really helpful for that two turn down.
Mm.
But exactly what you're saying, Nick, about the spin back to airplane, and then eventually 1.5, spin Tama, and then do like a, 3 turn juggle back to a stall because that bevel is there. All you got to do is move it forward, right?
Mhm.
And then it goes
Yeah,
into a stall. So
yeah, it's yeah, I mean, I definitely got was intrigued by spinning one with the swap downs and then UFO swap down spikes. I was like, oh, like COTK and Eli and White are doing these, and Eli taught me the Thomas spin, and Eli Corey, past GT member. But yeah, at first I was telling Zach, yeah, I don't even really need it for a juggle airplane. Like I'm already good at this. Like I can do this without the spin, no problem. Um, and then a little bit later, I was like, I'm just kidding. It's actually way easier with the spin, and it's also like, oh, I don't even have to like, if I'm doing stilt juggle stilt, then oh wow, like I don't even have to think about it. And then came all the juggle birds and stalls, and I wasn't even like that good at any of those yet. So yeah, and then I just realized, oh, like out of muscle memory and just the habit, I'm spinning off every swap, and I'm like, oh okay, like I can't not do this now, and yeah,
right.
and then obviously it's just super easy to do those. Yeah, exactly what you just said with why it's doing and catch and flow runs and tap swap downs and UFO swaps, and yeah, it just makes it all really easy. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think everybody does it now. I think everybody spins. Well, most people. Like
Except
eventually.
one person who spins the opposite way,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
makes no sense, which is Ryoga.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
because even Takia spins,
yeah.
right? Like even Tablek spins, so they'll kind of put the Tama in different positions. Maybe Tablek will go more
Mhm.
forward. Maybe Takia will go more to the left. It kind of depends on the trick. but they definitely have that same motion of flicking their finger out so it spins clockwise. But as I said in the video, I took a bunch of slow-mo videos of Ryoga, and I was on the plane home, and I was looking through those videos, and I noticed his Tama control when in between those taps, and how he was getting his stall, and how everything was looking so clean, and how his string control. I was honestly more looking at string control, and that's when I saw the Tama spinning. I'm like, okay, yeah, he spins. And then once I slowed it down a few times, I realized that he's not tapping, moving the Tama, and then spinning with his finger this way. He's tapping, moving the Tama, and spinning counterclockwise off his thumb. And I was like mind blown because I've never seen that before in my life.
He pushes and doesn't pull.
Yeah.
I had to confirm with him when you first brought it up to us a little while back. You're like, is this guy pushing? Is this guy like swapping it? And it was hard to tell because the slow motion wasn't the greatest. And I just had to ask him. I was like, hey man, are you pulling or pushing? He was like, oh, I'm just pushing it like a regular swap spike. And I was like, literally, how is that like possible? I remember trying to actually do that. Not spin it, but like get all these juggles off with a regular swap. And after you build the habit of spinning, I mean, you can't really do that. It just doesn't. The juggle is awkward, and you can't do it as well. And I don't even think Ryoga even focuses on spinning it. I think he just pushes. He doesn't really. He's not like, oh, it's gonna have to spin sideways. Like he just pushes it forward, and it literally is just like a swap, even though it spins sideways, um, sometimes. But if you can always see like even on like singular juggles. I mean, obviously it's gonna spin sideways eventually if he goes on a 4-4-4-4-8-8-8-4-4. You know what I'm saying? Like the 36 tap lines. But in this video, you just post on your Instagram. We'll take a look at it in a second. But I mean, when he does the 4-tap swap or 4-tap juggle, sour grip bird, it's just a regular swap. It just goes right down perfectly. Nothing, no spinning. It's just a regular swap, like 1.5 soft spike. And yeah, he just does that. And it's so beautiful to see the spin when he goes on those huge tap lines, 36 tap combos, because man, it's just, I feel like that is just a different level of control. If you compare the two spins side by side, I think every one of us can agree that once you get the 1.5 swap spike down from airplane, I mean, none of us are ever going to miss that. It's not really possible to miss that often, because the control is so perfect. But imagine having that same feeling with every single swap tap and from airplane, and it's ridiculous because man, that 1.5 swap spike control is just almost 100%. So when you take that to everything else, it's like, oh my God, this guy can literally juggle the penguin wing anytime he wants, from wherever he wants, and he'll probably get it. So yeah, it's a different level, man. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I don't know about you guys. I mean, I know this is possible. Whenever I've struggled with spinning it, one thing that I struggle with is the string. When I spin it a lot and the string gets caught in the Tama hole, the string will get wrapped up, and that's annoying. But then another thing will be like, if I'm going after a big line, and like I don't have perfect form, like I'll kind of get caught in this area when I'm trying to juggle to a stall if it's spinning. That like because it's spinning a certain direction, it'll kind of come like sideways. And I know, for example, like I can definitely like I'm not saying that it's impossible for me to like get a really good rotation forward, but I feel like because it's spinning this direction, the bevel's gonna find just usually kind of come more like sideways this way based on like the physics. When with Ryoga going this way, you can see like his specifically the 4-tap around the clock, like it just comes down to his palm, and because of that spin, it just rotates perfectly straight. And then it's so much easier and better to catch a stall when it's like straight up, you know?
That's a perfect point. Yeah, it's tending because I think, yeah, I've never thought about it before. When you're pulling and spinning it like that, it has a tendency to curve the opposite way. Like you were just saying, like when you're pushing, it's like pushing towards the center. So it has so once you swap it, it's going to come more straight.
Yeah.
That's
Like
interesting.
I'll tend because I spin, I'll tend to like get a spike that's more this or more like this. And like, yeah, I can scoop a bird like that. Or if I get a really good rotation, it will go relatively straight and I can get a bird. But like I can imagine spinning the other way, have it coming in more straight. like it's just going to be, once you get that down, it would be way more efficient and consistent to get to stall.
Yeah, and his spin isn't even it's a way different speed too. He's spinning it, but it's way less. Like we're like everybody like us, we're spinning it. It's going haywire. You know, it's going
Yeah,
pretty haywire on the release.
yeah.
He's
A two
basically
rotation.
just tossing it. He's tossing it with a very, very, very slight turn of his fingers just on the release, and it's really cool. And it just makes it look, as we were talking about before, just so much more controlled. Because I mean, you'll see someone kind of swap or tap out of a juggle like in a POV clip, and as soon as they hit the tap, and especially if they kind of lose control and they kind of just end up saving it, the tom is like spinning out of control. It's out of control spinning. But by the nature of just juggling and they're used to it, they can sometimes save it because they juggle it in a way and based on where the hole is going to turn towards them and start spinning towards them, and maybe they savor it or get the spike, but like Ryoga is not, you'll never see that in his clips. It's always this Tom is always just very almost motionless in comparison to the motion that the Tamas that we're spinning go through.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it is interesting too. Like I noticed that like, in the 4-3-2-1-1-2-3-4 tap trick, it's just barely spinning super slowly, maybe like a quarter rotation between the two tosses. And he brings it to the side, rotates it, it's barely spinning, then he brings it back. But then when he gets to stall in that clip, and then also when he's going to stall just straight out of tapping in the 4 around the clock trick, he almost did something a little bit different where it's a little bit of a toss. I mean, it's the same rotation that he's doing that's opposite to everybody else, but it really gets him this like rotation to get around, to just have the ability to have so much control on catching those stalls and seeing that Tama come around. It's really
Yeah, I
cool.
think man, dude, the spin on his Tama, the speed. I want to bounce to a different clip real quick. The 4-4-4-4, 8-4-4-4-4 to, I don't know what he did to Penguin Wing. I think it was like right as the New Year hit. It was on January 1st.
Okay.
If you guys look at that Tama, that's when we first started talking about him like spinning it a different way. And I personally, I don't even think it's possible to push and spin it haywire like we do when we pull it.
Right.
I don't think it's actually possible to get that amount of force on there and have a controlled juggle. But I mean, so that's why Ryoga, like, if you look at that clip, that big combo that he did on January 1st, dude, they literally just they do one perfect spin, like one rotation the entire time. And it never spins like crazy. You can see it just one full rotation because the ball isn't even perfectly sideways. It just goes, but he always catches it perfectly back in the same position in his hand. It's always facing sideways in his hand, and it's actually robotic. They all just do one perfect spin, one perfect spin, one perfect spin, and then he just keeps coming out of it. I'm just like, wow, like that is just that's just I'm like speechless when I'm watching that because personally for me, when you do a long juggle line and have to spin it off each release, what I've noticed is I so I'm spinning it sideways, but it's in order to get to be a perfect spin each time, if I'm doing instas or lighthouses or anything, I have to have the Tama facing straight up before the release, or else it
Yeah.
won't spin in that perfect direction for me.
Yeah.
Um, and that's how you have to keep it perfect. So you have to kind of actually be conscious about it too. If you're doing like a 3-2-1 tap or anything with insta lighthouses, you always have to tap, swap, and then right before you tap again, you have to kind of pull the Tama back to being perfectly straight up, and then it'll spin off again perfectly. But if you just mess it up by a little bit, it's not the end of the world. You're still gonna probably be fine, but it won't be perfect. But when you look at Ryoga's, it's like perfect, perfect, perfect through the entire line, and it's just, man, I can't believe that's a level that someone has reached. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
it's
really cool. Yeah, like Nick, when you're spinning, if you're doing 3-2-1 and you're trying to do it with like you're obviously trying to be as clean as you can. Do you
yeah,
find that with your technique, like you'll find the bevel kind of move to the right a little bit and you kind of have to bring it back? Or I guess you're left-handed, so that'd be different.
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, I'm lefty, so it'd be lefty. It'd be facing to the left. But yeah, no, I definitely always have to think if I'm doing lighthouses. I'm more conscious of it doing lighthouses and stuff. Because I mean, I'm not really out here doing crazy long tap lines like everybody is nowadays. So I haven't thought that far. But when I'm doing instas or anything or going on a long combo like that, I always am conscious of, okay, well, if I catch a Tama, then I would love it to be perfectly facing straight up, and I always have to try and like think of bringing it back. It's not the end of the world if I don't, but because I'm not perfect every time, and if it's spinning out of a different position, I've kind of gotten used to most positions it spins out of, so I can kind of make it work. But yeah, for it to look the best though, yeah, I always have to think of bringing it back. And well, especially for an example, like the level 10 trick from last year, two tap Ken, two tap Ken, two tap Ken swap spike. Do you remember that
Yeah.
level 10? Um, yeah, I mean that trick is really hard because of the ball control at the end.
Yeah.
And so, there's no juggles, and it's just a direct spike. And so when I was practicing that trick, I wasn't going to do it, but I just wanted to, see what it was like. I mean, for that, I actually had to be super conscious of every swap coming back because there's no juggles in between. I had to really focus. Okay, I literally won't be able to spike this unless my topic control is perfect. Because if it's perfect, it'll be perfectly spinning to the left, and I'll just go for an easy swap spike. But if it goes anywhere else, if it's not perfect, then it's insanely hard to spike because the ball's just going to spin off axis and I'm not going to be able to see it. So for that move specifically, I was like, wow, everything has to be super, super precise. And that's what I'm really thinking about it. But Ryoga,
dude,
problem.
That reminds me that is such a great point. I mean, on a very like more micro level example, this past year was inward tap, inward tap, inward tap, swap spike as a level 10 for KWC. I remember practicing that and I was getting really annoyed because I'm so used to spinning it off stuff, and I wasn't even used to swapping it off an inward tap. So I found that ball control to be really, really annoying. But even more than that, like I did a trick 3 years ago for 28 chicks later, and it was trip tap cushion, 3 single jug cushion taps, and then jug 3 tap cushion, just swap spike. Oh my God. That was just a luck trick because I was spinning so hard off the swap that I couldn't even. I was telling like Nick, I remember telling Nick, I'm like, yeah, I'm going for this trick. Pretty much fully luck if this goes in because I have no control. But if I'm Ryoga and I'm just thinking of how clean that would come off him, because he would just trip tap cushion and then kind of just throw it up, like throw it inward a little bit, just tiniest bit up, and just be like, boop, like just spike it. Meanwhile, I'm swapping it. On the last swap, I spin it really hard, and then wherever the ball is, it just goes crazy, So I'm basically just praying to God it goes in. Like, and I remember, and ended up getting it, but I was like, I was so surprised that I got it because, I was praying, it was just like I was just huck and pray. So
Yeah, for
You
sure.
did land it super clean though.
it was
looks
clean, but I had
you could
so
have
many attempts. Dude, if I had a Ryoga control, that I would have gotten that like an hour earlier. It's like I would have just like swapped it up, but no, I'm spinning it out. So I was just like, oh God.
Yeah. And I just, just so people know, like for ideal play, especially like, open division or like KDUC, you not only want to land a trick once, but you want to have the trick down so much that both pieces do the exact same thing, Like I remember when I was doing I was practicing the 2 tap one and I hit it like once or twice. But you're right. I mean, because I'm spinning, like if I ended up with like the bevel here and I spun, then the bevel's going like this. If I ended up with the bevel like here and spun, it's going backwards. And then like Zach's saying, it's lucky. And I think as you develop as a player, you want to kind of know what techniques you need to learn, like for example, spinning. And if it's like, 1.5 swap spike, for example, you don't spin it in that regard. You have to toss it forward. And that's a technique that you need to learn. But you need to learn kind of both of those if you want to make your progression as efficient as possible. But it's just interesting because this Ryoga technique, it might mean that you should replace the spinning with his technique. I also want to caveat that like just because you're not going to have Ryoga's taps because you spin it the way that he does. I mean, there's so many like that needs to be said. There's so many other techniques and so much time that he's put in to his form and his play that adds so much. Like another example is just where he puts the Tama after tapping, and he always has that string controlled because he never will throw the Tama from this side to the next side. He'll always have it to the left. And because it's not spinning that much, the string's not going to go super wacky. But also, if you notice, what makes his form really unique is how, like, instead of going from like a tap over toss, he really does a tap and then he goes down and up. So he gets a lot of leverage that way. That's another thing that like it's relatively unique to him. Rui does a really good job of it. Hinoka does a good job of it. But there's a million things that Ryoga does that and how much work he's put in to make it look that clean. But like just talking about the spinning, it is like I'm really interested in it because it could mean that it's more efficient to learn. It's better to learn that way versus finger rolling in the future. It's interesting to see where that can go. But yeah, for example, like another technique that you should learn if you want to progress into the most efficient, into the best player you can be, is tossing the tama straight from the tap. So not spinning it, but tapping. And then like think about the Nobu trick. The guys, I mean, the tricks that we were just mentioning, right? But like also the Nobu KWC trick where I think it's 6 taps straight to spike. That's the first time I was trying that trick. I was trying it like a 4 tap at the time, and I just could not spike it because my bevel is straight up. So I had to really look up, like, I had to learn it. I mean, I'm still like learning right now of how to, like, what to do to get that bevel forward in a controlled manner,
It's so difficult because that's going against so many reps and so much muscle memory that's doing the opposite. It's so difficult. And actually
Yeah.
on that, and yeah, I mean, actually before that, before I started learning finger roll, I would do taps, like I would do juggles with I would just swap it. So I would just all my taps. So if I was doing a tap juggle, I would I wasn't even, dude, I didn't even learn tap juggles until I learned spins before I learned tap juggles. I learned tap swap down spikes before I learned tap juggles. So I've been always spinning off a tap. That's where that comes from.
I had two. I learned 1.5 down spike, whatever that, two turn down spike, whatever. I learned that before I did any bump taps.
Yeah. And then when I started learning like airplane tap swap down spike, before I started doing tap jugs, that's where the muscle memory where I'm like, okay, I tapping it, I'm spinning it. And so,
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you guys, so people are gonna be listening to this conversation and thinking, man, like, what about my form? Should I switch it? Like, some people may be very just on the beginner journeys of learning this stuff, and some people may listening might be 5 years deep, 6 years deep, and already have a style they've become very accustomed with. What are your guys' thoughts on? Because we're looking at different forms and stuff, and I bet you Ryoga didn't even he's not thinking about this. It's not like I don't think he's purposely doing it. Probably came more naturally to him. Like I would think that. I think that. And what do you guys think about, like, would you guys recommend people learn a new style even if they're already accustomed to something, or embrace it? Because I've been there with people. For example, Kendama, he's French. His ball control is spinning the tama completely inward.
Yeah.
So he's the only person who's like 1.5 jug bird, and his ball control is 1.5 jug, and the ball spins inward. Like literally does an inward earth turn to bird. And he's like, man, like I tried to fix this. Like I've tried to do it, but it just feels so unnatural. And it's like I already have this way like pretty down. And I was like, I told him, I was like, honestly, dude, it's your style. Like what's gonna like it's gonna, even if you try and quote unquote fix it to get it to a quote unquote better or more a correct way of juggling, that might take you legitimate years. It might take them years, honestly. It might take them an entire year to get out of that, to break that muscle memory, and then to learn a new one. What are your guys' thoughts on that? Like, would you guys recommend people switch forms? I guess it depends on how.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
What do you think, Nick?
Yeah. Oh, I know. Obviously, I'm gonna say, yeah. If you want the optimal thing, we got to do the optimal thing. It's not really a no brainer, to be honest. But not everyone's gonna pursue the optimal because it's really hard to break a habit and to suck for a while. And even when you have it as good, like for example, for me, like my ball control is really good. I think it's I've practiced it a long time and done it this way. Now that I've seen the light and a different way to do it, like Ryoga, I'm not gonna lie, I've been watching some of his clips while you guys have been talking, and like his old clips and his swaps and everything. And God, now that like I know what's going on and I'm seeing what he's doing, and it's just beautiful. Like it's actually just so beautiful. And he doesn't even really think about it. I know he didn't really calculate this at all. This wasn't a calculated decision. It just happened. But yeah, man, because if I could do it like Rogue, I would. And which is, to answer the question, yeah, I would pursue the optimal route. And I've also thought too, right? even when I do like I don't know if you ever guys have ever thought about this, but for me, it's like if I do a triple swap down spike from airplane, guys, when I don't spin it and I just let it go and just swap it, like I get it just it's perfectly straight up, and obviously that's how I used to do them before I spun, so I can still do them. But man, it just feels so good. It's something just feels so good about not spinning it and not
I've never not spun it, bro. You got to
really
try that.
okay. Really, because because I used to do them just swapped it up and had them
Ghosting. Yeah.
ghosting it. Yeah, and it just feels so good. And I've always thought, man, maybe the ideal ball control is like having everything with a swap. But then I thought, oh, that's kind of impossible because how are you going to get a clean juggle, right? Because you're not always going for a 1.5 swap spike, and that's a swap. That's not a juggle. But with Ryoga, it's like, man, how is it even possible to juggle and swap, do the same swap motion when it's a juggle? Because you're gonna the spacing isn't the same. It's a different technique. So how you're gonna like the swapping is so
Yeah.
difficult, and your juggle's gonna get so much worse. But then now you see somebody doing it, and it's like, whoa, wait, no, that's possible. Like I've never like Ryoga's out there doing it, doing the optimal that I kind of was thinking of a long time ago. Kind of, I'm not saying I'm gonna like, oh, I thought of this first, I invented it, but like I've just pictured in my mind, wow, what would it be like to have perfect swaps off everything like Ryoga has? But I couldn't really think that was possible until now because we'd never seen
Yeah.
it before until now. So
I also want to make sure that I also want to, like, I know I made this video, but to take a step back,
mm,
Takia won last year and Takia spins. So like, yeah,
yeah.
right. Like Ryoga it looks really optimal. It looks really clean, and it definitely looks a lot like his tricks are easier, especially to the stall. But I think like to answer your question, Zach, like, okay, spinning off your thumb versus spinning off your finger, I think it's a very technical choice that like, newer players need to make.
Hmm.
But when it comes to um spinning at all, if you're tapping, which I know a lot of players are doing right now, if you're tapping and your taps and your Tama looks a lot different than what, I mean, just look at top 20 KWC or the finalists at KWC, 30 people or 40 people. Look at what they're doing. They're all, for the most part, 90% doing the same exact thing. Like 90% of their play is the exact same with where they put the Tama. They're not tapping and juggling from this side over. They are tapping and they're putting their Tama over here. They're, right now, except Ryoga, who I know got top 10. I think top 10 last year or top 15.
Yeah, he got
Everybody
a
else,
yeah.
yeah, everybody else
Thing.
was spinning. What do you get, Zach?
Huh?
What do you get?
I think he got 9. I
Okay.
think.
So everybody besides him, I believe, is spinning the way that we do, including Takia. But like, if you are, if you are like, yeah, advanced player, you're years into your game, you've built up these habits, and they are not looking like, and if you strive to be a better player that is more consistent, that does better in comps, that yeah, a better player, then you should 100% go through changing your form because I mean, we're all Kendama players. Like that's what you do is grind something that's uncomfortable for a while, and then you learn it, and then all of a sudden it's really easy. And the reason, honestly, the reason that I got into form in the first place is because I played basketball all my life, and my Uncle John, my mom's side, was the head coach for Michigan, University of Michigan, and he really was popular. He popularized spinning the ball. It's funny enough, like he had this ball. I mean, I know it was around before, but like he had this ball that said like the rock, and there was a line in it. So when you shot, it would spin this way. And
Mm,
he would take players from high school who had bad form and freshman year of college, which I mean, high school players are really good. I mean, they can go straight into the NBA. He had really, really good players, but he would teach them the correct form and they'd be really bad at first. But then long term, they make that decision and they switch. They end up getting a higher percentage. So I 100% think that, my desire to play is to be a better player, to impress myself, to do tricks that
mm.
I didn't think were possible, to be able to do, juggle six, like that's a huge fulfillment of why I play Kendama. And I think that if you are have the wrong fundamentals, it's just going to hurt you and it's just going to be harder to get to the places that you want to get. So, yeah, I think for the most part, I mean, especially when it comes to, I guess it's really just new gen stuff. Like, when you're big cupping to bird, um, you're not going to really have that many choices to make when it comes to form. Like, obviously the bevel needs to be up somewhere
Yeah.
so you can look at it.
Yeah.
But I think when it comes to like new gen stuff and tapping and stuff, that you really want to emulate what the top players are doing.
Yeah.
And like as time progresses, Kendama's only been around for 16 years, but now like we're already seeing optimals in the state of Tama control and what tricks matter, I guess, in competition format and what doesn't right now. And there's always going to be, and there's going to be new, there just hasn't been anything to teach us yet about what Ryoga is doing or other things that are happening, right? It's just too early. But as with other sports, there's always better equipment being developed, always better techniques, and always better coaching, and always better all these things. So, I wouldn't be surprised if people saw Ryoga and the way he spins and wanted to be like, okay, I want to spin like him, and then in years down the road, this is how you spin. You have to spin it like this and to swap, and there will no be any more like finger rolling like we do. It'll be pushing like this, and then everyone's gonna have all that control, and then on what happens from there, So I think people will, once they realize this is optimal, which I think it's optimal. I'm just gonna say I mean, look at this dude. Oh my God, it's just
I know.
ridiculous. We can see it. When you spin, it's like it's hard to see, but go watch this guy's clip on January 1st. Just watch that Tama and my God, I've never seen anything like it. So yeah, I think this is optimals. And once there's more footage on it and more analysis on it, and I guess a tutorial on it, and something like this, it'll catch on. And then, yeah, man, it might be the future. Might be the future.
Yeah, and I think once people find out like or dig into form and the scene, like for another example, just juggling form. Really good example, like Max Norcross juggling. Super limiting. Like he's limiting himself like that. His form was extremely like limiting him a ton to the point where like he made 10 juggle spike look like a banger trick, like a massive, like, oh my God, like, he actually landed that, because his juggles were just so over under, like string tangle and stuff and all like that. And now that people are, hopefully with this podcast and it'll raise awareness on form and people will be aware that there are better options out there. And like you said, Isaac, I mean, I do 100% agree with you that, yeah, it pays to watch the top players and see the trends that they're doing, because that's literally, it's definitely super valuable to copy them, like to just copy what the most successful players are doing. And I think it's really exciting because I think this is bringing awareness to a point that's way more technical and way more. I don't know if a lot of people have thought about this. Like a lot of people might not want to switch their form based on the comfortability they have with their own, or maybe they're just too daunted by the fact that it might take a long time. Keyword might. I know I said it might take a year earlier for this one dude. It might not. You never know until you try. So I think it's really cool, and the fact that this is even happening with Ryoga doing this is just like really groundbreaking, because it just shows that Kendama's continuing to progress, because he plays in a very much more controlled manner than anybody. Even though Takia is obviously spinning and he's definitely better than Ryoga, I mean Ryoga looks better playing Kendama.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. That was the biggest surprise that I got in Japan, was watching Ryoga tap and watching Takia tap. I know Takia's tap more, but just how they look. But I also wanted to do some shameless promoting. I did a tutorial on spinning and Tama control, and I talked about stuff that beginners can start looking at, like even from going to spike or around USAs, and then I built up to like intermediate to advanced to 1.5 stop spikes, and then I went to advanced like late flips and tapping to stalls. So make sure you check that video out, because it has everything you need in terms of like what choices to make when you're learning these tricks, and going the hard route, because it's going to be way easier in the future. If you go the hard route of getting this in your mind, and then you all of a sudden have like 3-tap juggle 1.5 in, like how much easier will it be in the future to hit 5-tap 1.5 in? Like if you don't have the 1.5 in from the 3-tap, And you want to do when KBC trick comes out and it's a 5-tap 1.5 in, you got to learn both now. Like because if 1.5 in was just a ghost or it was wacky or whatever, but if you go the hard route and learn these fundamentals, then like when you need to progress, it's going to be a lot quicker because yeah, I know a 3-tap to 5-tap is definitely a progression. It's hard, but you don't need to do both. You only need to learn the 3 to 5. Like you don't need to also learn like the correct fundamentals and the correct way to do a 1.5 toss in, you know, and that applies for all different tricks.
Yeah, and if you're listening to this and you're kind of just getting into the level where you're juggling and swapping and tapping, consider this a huge blessing because you only the challenge for you is to make up your mind. Everybody else who's been playing for a long time, the challenge is to change their mind. And that's way
Yeah.
harder. That is way harder. So now that we are aware of an optimal way, or an optimal way, some people aren't doing it this way. It's so much harder to be like, I have to relearn, or I have to really give up my form that I actually like, and it's I'm doing okay with it, but I know there's more out there. For those who are just listening and are stepping into this realm of progression and this realm of skill, it's perfect. Now now you've couple different options to choose from, and if you choose to analyze Ryoga and go that route, great. It's gonna be way easier for you, and would take way less time than it would take. Will probably take less time than us. You don't have to go through and relearn muscle memory and all of that. So it's a good position to be in.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Oh God, guys, I've just been binging his clips just right now.
Hey, we'll link a couple of Ryogas. We'll link Isaac's tutorial in the description, and then also Nick can handpick some clips from Ryoga that he really wants you guys to watch.
At first, I was like, oh my God, there he is. There's like, oh, there's his Tama going out of control. It's spinning. It's going crazy. I knew he wasn't like a robot, but then I was like, oh wait, that's not out of a swap. It's like out of like a late 6 chem flip, and it's like, oh okay, maybe. Like, I was like, oh okay, I guess that's acceptable, right? Like it's, but oh man,
Yeah,
God,
and I do want to make a difference too between like completely ghosting and then like what Ryoga is doing because when I see players doing taps and juggles and they are like ghosting their Tama and like I can just tell that I've told people too like, hey, you should learn spinning because it's gonna make it way more consistent. And Ryoga, like based on where the Tama is, and you can see in those tricks where the string hole is, it's the same place every time. So I just want to make a clear distinction between like if you're gonna go Ryoga's route, you shouldn't learn just like ghosting the Tama, not spinning at all. You should learn like moving the Tama to the left, going down with your hand, going up, slightly spinning it, or if you're not spinning it, I mean, it's still like there's no movement, barely any movement. Versus like there's the people on my team and the Lotus team. There's a bunch of players who like I know that they struggle with object control. I know they struggle with string control. But it's because they never learned the spin in the first place. I don't know if Ryoga, if you guys think if Ryoga went for like a tap swap down or 2-turn swap, do you think he would do?
Oh, he's ghosting that.
Do you think he's ghosting, or do you think he's
Oh,
backwards? Or
oh yeah, good question.
you know what? I actually have a video of him trying to do that at Catch and Flow.
Okay.
Perfect data.
Hey, by the way, guys, I want to bring this up. So we talk about his starting Tama positioning, and as you see in this clip on January 1st, the long tap line, he starts out with it sideways, and I'm not gonna, guys, do you even think he thinks about spinning at all? Because if he just swaps it out of a sideways toss, like it's just gonna spin. Like
I don't think
just
he's thinking about it. I think it's just what he naturally does.
I don't know.
I think he's making sure that it doesn't. I think he's making sure that the bevel doesn't move, like how we do with spinning bevels on top. But I don't necessarily think it's maybe not spinning.
Yeah, I guess we're just calling it spinning just because that's what it's doing, right? It's spinning like rotation. It's naturally coming off spinning in that way. But God, like it's just a swap. He's like, yeah, I just swap it. I'm like, all right, like, God, just like this level of tech. Yeah, sorry, I'm almost about to find it. So 1 second. But yeah,
I also like. It's funny because to analyze his form when I was in Japan, I actually went around over his shoulder and just told him what to do. Like what would look like what would like a 1.5 juggle send fast trick? Like how would she control the Tama in that? Like I can post that. Maybe I'll do another reaction video to that. But then I just yelled tricks at him and he would do them way too quickly. And it was really interesting to see like the choices that he has made or, you know, didn't make. It just kind of came to him in terms of like controlling the Tama, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think I love talking about this, and I think it's really important to talk about because in every sport, it's talked about, every single sport. And so it's going to be talked about in Kendama as Kendama grows. You know, and I think that you know, as we're talking about Tama, there's string control that will be talked about that I'm making a really good, nice string pack with the best string. I'm doing some really unique things with Lotus when it comes to bearings. I'm gonna do a string control video really soon because I've made a lot of progression in that for myself. Um, but yeah, I want players to keep thinking about this, to think about what they do, and to analyze this. And you know, when you see somebody that has a unique form, I mean, most of the Japanese players that they have like the best form, and you should think like, why do they look so nice? What are they doing specifically with their hands with the kendama that makes it look so clean? Because they're doing something, you know, like it's like, I mean, Yasu is one of the most best examples of string control. And so, yeah, I took a bunch of slow videos of Yasu at Cash Flow to see what he's doing in slow motion with the string, because that's a whole nother realm of managing your kendama to be able to do long, consistent lines. But yeah.
All
Yeah,
right,
I think
guys.
yeah.
I found yeah, he just after a three top swap down spike, he's still pushing it. Still doing the same thing. Is that
It's
where
spinning slightly or is it ghosting?
he's holding it sideways and he releases it and it's doing like that it's doing that one spin
The one rotation.
doing that
Yeah.
one rotation spin. I mean, he's messing it up in this prelim, but he recovered at the end with a three tap juggle cloud bounce, juggle lighthouse, his jug bird. So I think yeah, he was but yeah. Oh god, that was
Luckily he recovered.
yeah. He's like 3, 2. All right, I'll go with this one. And then yeah, he laced it.
All right, fine. I'll pull it out of the bag. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Isaac,
but
dude, a lot of people I've been saying as soon as you announced Ryoga, people were like, "Yo, Isaac and Lotus are just picking up the best players like Infinity Stones." Like people are just saying that, dude.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I mean, I you know, at the end of the day, like I'm like at first a player, you know. And when I go to Japan, I just love to talk and hang out with. I think I might be annoying to them, I don't know, but like I just go right to like the best players because that's who I've been watching all my life. And Ryoga's one of them, Maharu's one of them. And those are players that I just ended up talking with. I ended up recording. I played with them. And you know, we just ended up vibing, you know, and I give them kendamas because I'm huge fans of them. And I'm like, yo, like even Taki, I know it's not like I'm gonna push him from ISR or anything, but like uh I just like, hey Taki, like just tap this. Like this is a really good element. I want to see how you feel about it. And he'll just hit like a 3 tap to like or a 10 tap to he hit like a 10
I was
tap.
gonna say
Yeah, not 3 tap. 10 tap to lunar swivel and or whatever it's called, and then another 10 tap to jug late. And he's
yeah,
like, this is good. You know, I'm like, yeah,
yeah,
thank you. I just started
yeah.
trying to do 6 tap with it. But
Taki doing three tap. I'm like, that's not Takia.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, you hit up a different kid.
yeah. Yeah, but yeah, I talked to Yasuo a little bit. He's like one of the most intriguing players because I think he has the best string control from his freestyle life. Like he can just go for so long and just reset the string somehow. And like whether it's unconscious, subconscious, or conscious, like it's intentional, and no matter what he's doing, like he's doing something specifically and purposely.
Yeah.
I didn't get one slow that I'll probably do a video on eventually, but I got one slow video of him just doing like a little line, and there's just so many little cool elements that he does to control the string, to reset the string. Like most people don't know that like if I were to just spin this Ken a ton right now, um, which is what happens during like a tap line, the string gets all messed up. And this is what happens. And imagine trying to do a juggle spike And the string, it's so easy as it's just going around to wrap around your ken and wrap around your hand. And so like what I've been working on is really making sure like this Tama hole will reset. And by reset, I mean like just by pulling this Tama out, it goes away, right? So like imagine, and I don't know if Yasu does it on purpose, but there's times in his run where he'll do a juggle, the Tama will come out.
Yep.
You know, there's a trick where he'll yank it back, but just in general, there's so much space and the string will be reset. And now it's a brand new trick. So now the string's reset. It's not all tangled up. It's not moving around. Like I'm going to drop just like this craziest thing I've been doing right now, which is putting a bevel in the Tama. No one better steal this idea from me. Can you
Putting a
see
spinner
this?
in the Tama, yeah.
Yeah. So like I have a bearing under 2, but like I just imagine that because this is wood right here, the string's just going to get caught more on that wood. So even if it's like here, the string won't reset. When it's metal or maybe plastic, which I'm gonna try to get some new Kendamas developed this way, it's gonna have a way higher chance of resetting. And so that means just longer juggling lines without the string getting in the way, you know?
Yeah. I also, I mean, you're absolutely right about Yasu resetting his string, and whether he knows it or not, he's doing it all the time, and that's what makes him him, and he can just go on forever. But I've always thought about this too, like when you look at also people like Benny Boy from Kusa and just other people
Yeah.
like Isaac Levinson, who's on, what is that guy, Unlocked? Is he Unlocked?
New lace.
And okay.
No, he's on New Laced. Isaac
Yeah.
Levinson, Isaac
Yeah.
Kendama. Well, those kids, and yeah, these Japanese kids, and everyone who goes on long lines. Do you think also though it's a factor that that's just what they do, and that they're so used to doing long lines more than other people that they can just control them better? Because I think like I used to think, oh wow, like this guy's just doing a bunch of juggling, and I could do that too for sure if I wanted to, but it's just not the way I play, and I don't think it's like that intriguing. But now that was like a couple of years ago, and now you see all these long juggle lines, and it's like, oh my God, there's no way I could go that long without my string messing up or having something go wrong. It would take me a long time, even if the trick isn't technically super difficult. It's like the juggling that is required, it goes forever and ever and ever, and it's like, wow, like I don't know if I could do that. Because I'm just not used to doing those long lines yet. I never go on long combos, or I have been more lately just normally playing, but I never film those. And do you think that definitely has to be a factor too, right? Just they're just doing it more. They're just putting themselves in that uncomfortable zone more and just getting more used to it.
I think it could be. But what ends up happening is that you learn specific techniques that help you
Mhm.
along the way.
Mhm.
And so just like with any trick, those techniques can be shared. So it's way easier for everybody else to just like,
Yeah,
okay, that technique, go after that feeling. And
yeah,
then, okay, my string is like way out of the way. Like for example, with Benny Boy, I noticed that how much space he has between his Ken and his Tama. Like
yeah.
originally I'm trying to keep everything like I like Nick has explained, you keep it in a box for sure, but like you can kind of widen that box. So when you're doing
Mhm.
the triple late flip, your Ken is really facing this way and the Tama comes out here because if it's here, like this string is just gonna wrap, right? And like Benny does a really good job of keeping that string untangled. Um, but at the end of the day, like I've thought about this, like the best players with string control, you know, it's hard to judge from a Instagram clip because you don't know how many times they've missed that and string has gotten in the way. The best way to judge it is a freestyle performance because you
Mm.
can see it live how consistent they are. And the best freestyle performer is Yasu. So he's doing, I mean, you guys see how long those lines that he's doing, you know, 4 4 4 4 tap, um, just you know, a bunch of lighthouses, triple lighthouse up, juggle, you know, to the knee, whatever. Like I think for sure he is the number one string control that everyone should look at. Not to say Benny isn't, because Benny's lines, no matter how long it took him, it's still an incredible. Like the trick I'm thinking is the
Mm.
four tap, the dare that I had, the
Yeah.
four tap plus the penguin. Like no matter how bad your string control is, it's you can't have bad string control if you're gonna hit that trick. And you can just kind of tell by his form that he's doing that. Like, I think Isaac Levinson, yes, he hits a lot of long lines, but his string is just so long that it gets in the way. It doesn't affect him. And also his Kens aren't really straight. Like, I don't want to like I want to give him credits for doing
Mm.
that, but I think he doesn't need to worry about it because his string's so long. And you know, Benny Boy, for example, his Ken is straight, which I know is a gigantic, um, one of the most important things that you need to do to make sure your string isn't get wrapped. Um, trying to think of who else, like, you know, I know that other Japanese players like Shinosuke, they're just like top tier. Um, Ryoga for sure. I but it's so interesting because Taki almost breaks the mold because when you see his Azura clips with when you do an inward lunar, the string holds it the other way. And I swear, dude, like that's a player what I think Nick you're mentioning, where like he doesn't really think about it, but he just has done it so much that he gets away
Mhm.
with it. You can see his Azora clips where the string is everywhere. It's not reset. It's all tangled. Like, granted, this is an Instagram clip. Not to say that he hasn't hit, you know, incredibly long lines on the stage, but this is an Instagram clip. So I don't know how long it took. It looks like it didn't take that long, fortunately. But like,
Mhm.
his string is everywhere, and he still manages to lace. Um, I know yeah, that one is Takia is just really interesting when it comes to string control. But then again, at the end of the day, Takia, I mean, the last time I saw him in catch and flow, he didn't necessarily have super long lines. Like, yeah, he can hit super crazy, like incredibly crazy tricks that it might be like a 10, you know, a bunch of taps, juggle spike, but he might after reset everything and then go for another one when I think Yasuo's the pinnacle because he just keeps going, keeps going, keeps going, and is able to manage the string through that all.
Yeah, I don't know what
Sorry,
Taki is
throw
at
a
all.
bunch of stats, but
Yeah, I don't really know what he's doing. Yeah, I honestly, when you go on, that's actually a really good point. I mean, this guy's pulling it off on an Azora with probably a shorter string. I don't know. He
Dude,
probably
he's
resets
just
eventually.
doing tricks that just don't make sense. Like you shouldn't be able to do those tricks on an Azora, and somehow he just makes it work, dude. Like I don't know.
Hold
It's
on. I want to go to the Ozora post. It's on the Ozora Instagram. It's his 4444844444 on the red Ozora. Oh, that string doesn't look that long. And he
and you can
spins.
see,
That's how he spins it. Yeah, I
yeah,
don't know. He might just be used to it. Like he might just be.
yeah.
I
Maybe
don't
he
know.
just learned those small techniques along the way that like
Hmm.
he hasn't really changed anything greatly. Like he just kind of manages it.
Yeah.
But dude, yeah, I mean, the string is
So funny
tiny.
watching him tap in Ryoga. I mean, look at this guy. I mean, Takia can save so many things. He's so good at saving stuff. And
Yeah, that's true.
he was 8 tap. He goes into this 4 tap. He like reaches out for it, and then he's like, "All right, reset. Got to do 3 more juggle 4 taps," and then executes them perfectly. But then Ryoga is like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna keep it all right here in front of me, and I'm not gonna have to sweat it." Not to say he'll never go wrong, but I've just never seen Ryoga reach for anything. Um,
Nick, when you were practicing for KWC and you had to go for like a longer line, did you think about string control at all? Like, did you have things come to you like when it comes like, okay, I'm gonna kind of change this part of my game up for this trick specifically?
yeah. Well, for KDBC, I don't know if I did any too crazy long lines of of juggling. Sorry, is my internet good, guys?
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, it just said it was unstable, but um yeah, well what's funny is I actually don't try and do that many long juggle lines at KDBC because I only try and pick tricks where I'm like, okay, like how much can I control this 100% of the time? You
yeah,
know, I want like for example, right? Let's go to this level 10. I forget who it was, but oh Jacob Schultz. Ken, juggle 8 double Ken, and
yeah.
then straight to a double inward toss to lighthouse, insta juggle, 2 turn inward swap, whatever. It's hard to say with words, but for that one, it's like, okay, I can't guarantee myself the Tama in the same spot every time. I can't guarantee like, and for that reason, like there's all like the string catches and stuff, and I can't keep it. I'm not the master of it. There's gonna be some chance in there. So for that reason, like there's gonna be some times where it just gets the best of me, and I'm not gonna be able to hit it as fast as I want to. So yeah, for that reason, I'm not picking it. And so
Right, right.
yeah, so honestly, for me, it's like I honestly try and avoid a lot of longer tricks like that. At first I practice them and see like, can I do this, and then but with KWC, it's like obviously I can do the trick just fine. Like it's not that hard for me, but it's also like
The
you
fact
want
of
to
the string.
but you want to be hitting every trick though, right? Like within
Yeah.
3 tries or less. And when it comes to that, it's like with a timer on you too. So it's like, well, what trick? Then it gets really hard to pick tricks, and yeah. So I tend to avoid those, but I definitely do make juggling adjustments and everything with shorter juggle lines, like where I want the Tama at in this part of the trick, where I want the Tama in this part of the trick, how I'm gonna juggle it to make it super consistent. Especially for like two when I'm doing bird juggle bird in like an open competition. I remember instead of doing it like I always do, like when I'm testing like for things too, it's like, well, if I'm gonna get it 100% of the time and not rely on chance at all, then I'm gonna do an earth turn off of it, and then I'm gonna earth it again in midair. And that's what I've personally that's just like an example of me adjusting. That's not like supposed to be for everybody. That's just for me. It's like, well, I'm gonna do this bird juggle bird in competition. The only way I can know it's gonna be consistent is if I do an earth off the bird and then catch it and then earth it again in midair and then go for the bird again instead of doing it like I always do, which is a ghost, earth, back to juggle bird. You know what I'm saying? So it's like controlling as many factors as I possibly can uh, to get it just right. That's when I make the little minor adjustments. But for KDVC, I usually just kind of stay away from the longer stuff just because I can't personally do it
Yeah.
as consistent as people. Yeah, but yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, and I imagine other players do too, even if even if like Yasu, for example, like at the end of the day, it's still gonna be, even if you have like more control, you still have to make those decisions of like, okay, this really long tap line, I don't have 100% control, so I'm gonna go for a trick that might be harder, but I have a better chance of getting consistently.
Yeah, but it's also crazy to see people do that on stage though. Like that's the trick they chose. Like oh like for me because for me it's like when you see that level 11 of triple Ken, jug triple eight over Ken, jug trip Ken, jug airplane. Do you remember that level 11 last?
Yeah, you're right. Like people,
That was there, and I was like, wow, like that's right up my alley. Like I'm really good at this trick. I'm gonna do it, and then I didn't do it because I can't control the last Thomas at the end, and I can't control like the. I mean, obviously, I'm not gonna say it's impossible for me to like get after these tricks and perfect them, but like I just felt like, wow, like I just don't feel confident in myself with these longer juggling lines because maybe it's because I never do long juggling lines in competition or anything like
yeah,
that, or just in general. I can do them, but I don't do them enough. So I decided not to do that trick. But then you see this guy who got 6, or no, he didn't get 6. He got like, yeah, maybe he did. His name's Koki, and I know you met him, Isaac, or
yeah.
Koki. I'm so sorry if I messed that up, but I think his name is Koki. And he came up to me after KWC, and he was like, with his mom and dad, it was like, "Oh, Nick, congratulations! Hey, look at us! Like, hey, we almost like, hey, only one more spot to beat you. Like, we're so close." I was like, "Yeah, who are you?" I was like,
Yeah,
"God, how?" No, like actually, who are you? Why are we laughing about this? Like, this is kind of like, what the
out
hell?
of nowhere, dude.
And then I watched his run. I was like, wow, that guy hit that trick. The triple can flip jug late triple inward jug trip can airplane. And I was like, wow, he chose that trick to go for as his buzzer beater, full marks, level 11. And I was like, wow, like, God, that guy did that. Like, like he, out of all the tricks like that I thought were safe, he thought that was safe. And I was like, man, people's comfort zones are just different. And they're just leveling up, dude. So
Yeah, and I think so. Basically, what you're saying is you didn't pick that trick because you thought the margin of error was too big for
yeah, I
you,
just didn't
despite
think I
you
had it
being already
all under
good at it.
control. Yeah, like, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Because in my head, I was like, okay, I can do the Quint still flip, and obviously we all know what happened. I gave
yeah.
up
You
short.
you missed still flip like 5 times and then ran out of time on
Oh
going
my
still
god, it was
flip.
so sad. Yeah, I ended up missing just the last Quint still flip, but I only had like 3 tries on it, 2 tries on it. Yeah, it was
So
sad, but
heartbreaking.
it was tough. It was tough. But
Um,
anyway, yeah,
yeah, I mean, I think a good example of this, like obviously, Nick, you'd be able to do like, what do you think in terms of what would be a good dare for you to like really test this and then maybe make some progress into string control? Like, I mean, I can imagine that you could hit like, a bunch of 3 taps in a row. Obviously, the string will be moving
yeah.
around, but yeah, but like, what about like juggle late trip Ken like 10 times or something? Is that something that you think be like, okay, after the 7th late trip Ken,
He's
like
done
you would
that.
have,
I've done 10 trip can juggles to spike like trip can jug, trip can jug. I've done that before, and
it was
I
okay.
think I think where it gets like tough is I've been doing this more lately is like I've just been playing around with just like uh taps and not even like just long, not even like super excessive tap numbers. It's like I don't know, triple tap, Ken, triple tap, juggle, like, and then you go an
Yeah.
inward tap, and then late trip, and then like after that, it's like I've been doing a lot of Kens lately these past couple days, and then just trying to like figure out what's going on. And I've honestly been there's no really been like structure to my lines lately. I've just been kind of instant off light hours, inward tap, Ken, like doing just random stuff that would be really cool to just I don't know, it just feels nice in the moment.
Yasu
Just the
style,
flow.
kind of.
Huh?
Yasu style, a little bit, like just flowing.
Yeah, I'm just going with it. Like I don't really know what I'm
Yeah.
gonna do next, but I just do it. And then
Yeah.
uh I think practicing that more, like obviously I love getting in a flow state, but my flow state looks like this up until like or here's what it used to look like, and here's what it's looked like for the rest most of my life. It's like flow state. Yeah, I'm gonna go for like this quad still flip, juggle, insta jug bird, spike, reset, like 1.5 out, juggle, spike, reset. You know, there's it's not really like a it's continuous, like it's flow, but like I'm because I'm moving through it fast, but it's like I'm also not doing keeping a one insta trick going. You know what I mean? Like an insta
Yeah.
lighthouse. Like it's not like one connected trick. I'm like spike. There's spikes in there. There's stalls. There's stopping points. Like with
Yeah.
these juggle lines, with these insta taps, cam flips of lighthouses, there's no stopping point. You're just doing all of it, and you have to make it all work. And I think like that's what I mean when I mean like people switching over to that style and them getting more used to it and figuring out all the little details. Like man, that's just so crazy to me now. Like watching Ryoga and Takia do all this stuff. Like, man, they can just go on juggle lines forever. Like Takia's story tricks the other week. I mean, holy shit! Like that he was just juggling. I'm like, dude, when is it gonna end? It doesn't end. And so there's just new standards, man. Like there's just different standards. There's different levels, you know. So
Yeah.
uh,
But I imagine, Nick, like once you get maybe a little bit out of your comfort zone in a long line is
yeah,
when your string kind of loses control. Cause like you said, you could of course it's gonna mess up sometimes, but like you have
yeah,
enough control to hit that, 10 trip Ken flips in a row of keeping it separated, doing whatever you need to do, or a
yeah,
bunch of taps in a row. But once you kind of start flowing and you throw in some instas and you throw in some like, to spikes, insta spike out, whatever, that's when like eventually the string will maybe you'll kind of lose control a little bit of it and it will just kind of wrap around.
yeah. I think so at first, but I swear it's like if that's just how I normally played, like, and I wouldn't think about it. I would just be like, oh yep. I just noticed it's not getting as control as tangled lately. And I think that would happen. And I've already noticed that. I'm already like, oh wow, I didn't know I could go on these long of juggle lines before and now have it get tangled because it's been so long since I've done that. It's not like that I can't do it. It's just I just don't do them, you know? So
Just
but now
haven't
I'm
done
doing it, I'm like, oh, like I'm kind of surprising myself. Not to say like I'm doing otherworldly stuff, but you know what I mean? Like
it. Yeah.
it's I'm surprising myself. Like the other day when these Sulab members came, I don't know if you saw my story, but Ponta and Yusuke and Hiroto came to Spike right before, to see me appear in the guy before I left. And obviously they're amazing. They're all insane. And after that day, I was like, God, like I've just been like on one with these juggling stuff, and I don't play with good. Well, no one's gonna live. I don't really play with good players in the guy. You can't really like, and I don't mean that in a way where like nobody's good. I mean like people are at their different levels, but nobody's at like a
Top
you know
level.
like a top
Yeah.
level or even remotely like there yet.
Yeah.
But so like to play with those guys, just to see them play in person and just finally be like, oh my god, it's been so long since I've seen like cannot good Kendama play in person like this. And no disrespect to people around me, but nobody. I mean, sorry, but the
Yeah.
levels
They're,
just
they're just newer or whatever. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I'm like, wow, like this is sweet. Like I filmed this Yusuke kid. I filmed a doubles nine slinger with him, and I was like, damn, like God, it's just so cool that there's someone right here next to me who can do that. You
Yeah.
know, so like these juggling lines and Ponta is obviously just a little. God, that guy is just. I'm a new fan of that kid. He's so cute. Like he's just such a like a, and he's so good. Like God, he's
What's
just
his
like
name?
such a nice guy. Like it's just he runs track and field too. Isn't that crazy?
What's his
Um,
name again?
Ponta, Ponta, Ponta. It's like Ponta, but we'll just say Ponta for this one. Yeah,
I got to keep on top. I know Ponte. I've seen him at like the last few events. I
yeah,
just need to keep on top of the Nick references so I don't lag behind.
yeah. Ponta there. We can just Ponta is just kind of like an easier way to say it. Yusuke, probably the least famous out of all of them, but he's like really insane. Like he did a 12 tap down fast in front of me and was so clean, and I was like, wow. But And then Hiroto, we all know Hiroto. Zach, Zach put him in his
Goat.
top 10. So, top 10. I would honestly disagree with that right now, but he's incredible. He's just so good. Anyway, yeah, it just inspired me to kind of, I don't know, play like I play with more freedom. I think up until this point, I was doing a lot of set tricks with like tight ropes and turntables, and I've been having a lot of fun progressing those. And but now just like coming back to this play style, like this right form of play and just this flow. And after seeing them, I'm like, yeah, I can do. I can. I was like, dang, like I can go on these juggle lines. Like I can play like how I used to, and like be insane. And then like, wow, I'm doing it again. It just feels so good. And being around different players, man, it made me think different. It just made me think like, oh my God, this is so fun.
You've also
So
been playing very structured in the past 2 months, right? Like very structured, very goal oriented, like going into the intent of every session and having tricks
yeah,
in mind, right? Because you've been have tricks in mind to tackle every single sesh for like a couple months, right? That's how you've been
like
playing?
yeah, for like 2 months. And like I would definitely warm up with some regular play, but I got to a point where I wasn't even having fun doing normal stuff because I just thought it was boring. I thought it was really boring. And maybe that's because I don't know, who knows, environment can play a factor, right? Like I'm sure if I was around you guys or for this past year, I don't think doing normal stuff that I always do is would be boring. I think it'd be really fun to vibe off that with you guys. But yeah, I would just focus my play towards turntables and tie rope, and it's been really fun lately. I've actually almost got a 20 turntable. I'm so close. Um,
Oh,
I spun 18 the other day, and I know it's weird because I've never filmed, like I've never been able to film, catch any of my level ups on film, but yeah, I've gotten 15 turntable. I spun an 18. So it's been really fun, but it's a very specific trick. And does it translate to my regular play when I'm like going into a competition or a freestyle? Maybe for like 1 second when I start my run with like, I don't know, a quint turntable. But then after that, it's like, what am I going to do? So getting more confidence and comfortability with that back, just the normal freestyle play has felt so good. That's just the act of doing it and feeling inspired to do it. And those Sulab guys that came definitely kind of played a part in that, because at first I was like, man, like I don't really feel as confident right now playing because I've been doing all these set tricks for so long. But then I just started trying to play like I used to, and I was like, oh wait, like it's all still there. I just haven't done it. And then I'm just doing all these big chem flip hooks and lates and juggles inwards still. And I'm like, oh, like it's all still there. I just like it's been a couple months, but yeah, getting back into it, it's felt so good. Like I've honestly been texting Zach. I'm like, God damn, like yeah, I'm feeling insane lately. Just
yeah.
regularly playing. No, nobody's there watching, of course. Just nobody, and even if they are, it's like they're like these kids are 6 years old. Like they don't even know what's happening. But yeah, I'm feeling good. So
Do you think this is going to influence your EKC freestyle qualifier?
well, I don't know, man. It's like I'm not gonna lie, I haven't had like the most confidence with. I mean, there's been a lot of changes happening in my life these past 6 months, so uh, the focus hasn't been there, but like all the way there, like for example, a catch and flow, or yeah, I guess that's the only one, catch and flow. But yeah, I think by not doing this freedom flow or this free flow like I used to, and playing like I always used to, and doing the things that just like playing like normal, like what I used to
Yeah.
with Zach, it's like, it made me kind of doubt myself when I'm going up there, like, oh, everyone thinks I'm going to do all these tricks, but I haven't done them in so long that it's like, can I still do these tricks? And, I kind of realized, even when I wasn't conscious of it in the moment, like, oh, this is what it feels like to be less confident. Oh, and this is what it feels
Yeah.
like to be a king. Like, this is what it feels like to have king confidence and just be like, yeah, I'm the shit. Because that's exactly what I've been feeling this past week after those two other guys came. I'm like, wow, like, I'm like, it's like, I'm the shit right now. Like, by myself, like, yeah, it's like by myself with nobody watching me, like I'm the shit. But
You're
like,
looking around like, oh
I'm
yeah,
like, I'm like, who's why? I'm like, oh, this little kid. Oh, Shuri. Oh, what's up, dude? Like, he's working on around the world. And I'm like, you don't know, you
did you
just
see
watch.
that?
But yeah, but it's all good, man. Like, and I don't have any reactions either. Like, even when I do something insane, nobody's there to like actually resonate with me about it. So I actually don't have no facial expression. Even if when I do something crazy, I'm like, yep, just reset. And then people will just watch me and then be like, oh, he's done. He reset. So I'm gonna keep playing. I'm like, yeah, but to me, that was fucking ridiculous. But yeah,
Yeah.
well, to answer your question, yeah, I hope it gives you the confidence is coming back, and like that playing like I used to is coming back. And Yeah, it just feels fun, dude. So I actually
Yeah.
do have like a freestyle exhibition type thing this weekend at Tokyo Kendama Day. I don't know if you saw that. It's well,
Yeah.
probably not. Just it's all yeah, I don't know. It's pretty low key, but yeah, they're doing this thing where they do like 8 matches, and then whoever wins gets to play Yasu. Who gets to play Yasu in the final? Like there's no judges. It's they have people like against each other, but quote unquote against each other, but um it's pretty much like whoever the crowd, the judge is the crowd, and whoever they scream for the most, whoever has the best reaction, well, Yasu's gonna pick the person that he wants to play in the final, the quote unquote final. It's just like a showcase. It's a performance showcase.
Dude, he's gonna pick
Yeah.
you, man.
Well, no, well, I mean, I would love for that to happen, but yeah, I just gotta be in the zone there. But anyway, they
Oh,
have me
it's
against
going.
they have me against like me and So playing each other, quote unquote. It's like a
That's
60
gonna be
second
sick.
prelim. It's gonna be 60 seconds, break, and then 30 seconds. So it's like catch and blow, but just different time sections. Um, yeah, Taki is gonna be there. Kaito's gonna be there.
Oh,
It's gonna
Ryoga?
be
Maharu?
Maharo's of course gonna be there. Ryoga's gonna be there.
Okay,
Uh,
this is what I seen, yeah,
yeah,
photos of
I think
this.
Noah and Rin from Seoul, and then Hikaru with the orange beanie who made Couch Flow finals, and then guess what, dude? Jacob Lowe from Grain Theory is gonna be there. Yep, you probably forgot about him. Yeah, so did
Yeah.
I. Yeah, so did I. I forgot about his existence, and now he's back in Japan.
Dude,
He's
there was
just
a
yeah. He
there was a brutal meme about him with quitting 28 tricks later. You see that?
did he? I don't even know. Like I don't.
No,
I'm
like
not.
there, I guess every 28 tricks later he quits,
Oh,
and
really?
there's a meme about like no could do like there's something about like I don't know, quitting 28 tricks later, but no one can do it better than Jacob. But
That's so funny. I remember. I don't think I watch his account anymore, but I remember him completing it for sure. Like one year where he like was really consistent. But that was before college or something like that. So,
yeah.
but yeah, yeah, he doesn't really post anymore. But I guess he comes back for like 7 days a week, for 7 days like, of the 20 tricks later and calls it. But yeah, I think he's just in Japan by chance, and then the timing lined up. I'm assuming he's probably with his I don't know girlfriend or family,
Is
but
he a featured player?
he is. He got invited. Yeah, he is. He got invited to that freestyle. He's gonna be playing Hikaru, that small
Nice.
kid. Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
I'm excited.
I love his playing style. It's really
Dude,
unique.
I'm gonna make oh my god, I'm gonna make like the craziest videos.
Yeah,
Like I'm
I'm
gonna
so
make
excited to
crazy
see.
videos there. It's gonna be so crazy. Maharu, I forget who Maharu's playing. Ryoga's playing Shinosuke. Uh so that'll be sweet.
I need to
But
see a Takia versus Yasu final.
dude, it might happen. Taki has to get through Kaido though.
True. Kaido's tough. But that
Taki's
could
like
happen in EKC too.
Taki's
I
like
mean,
no problem.
EKC, everything's going.
Yeah, Kaido was
Yeah.
crazy at UPC. I don't know, but like they're playing each other, quote unquote, but it's at the end of the day, it's like who Yasu picks and then who are the crowd, you know what I mean? So there's no judges. It's just like whatever. But yeah, Pop Swag is this weekend too, so I'll go to that and then Tokyo Konami Day, and then yeah, from there I'll be cruising. Anyway, but yeah, guys, cool, cool. You
Zach,
guys,
you haven't spoken in like a half an hour. I feel
I
bad.
know. It's just
Like,
I was
damn,
just
Zach,
listening to you guys' conversation. It
like,
was good. It was
yeah.
good. It was good. But
You have anything to say?
what?
You have anything to say or no?
you have anything to say or what?
Well, I enjoyed that conversation. I think
Yeah.
it's gonna be it's I will as soon as you said the lineup for that event, I was like, man, that's like all the top players in one place. Like they
Yeah.
all just live in Japan.
All right.
You know, like they all just live in Japan. And of course, that's a really cool that Jacob's going. I mean, that's just such a chance thing.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see that, and it's really cool to hear that it's like a different format, just because
Yeah.
I think novelty is really great in Kendama, especially in the form of competition, which Pop Swag has done. And this competition, although it's very low key and very very small, and I think it's really really cool. And I don't think I think freestyle especially has massive potential to appeal to the masses. And when I say masses, just to clarify for those listening, I'm talking about the entire world, not just the Kendama world. Um, I think there are different ways to do it. Of course, there are different ways to do it. Of course, there are better ways to do it. And so this is just another opportunity for us to test that. And that's a really cool concept. I mean, they're not exactly playing each other. It's more just a crowd thing, and that'll be interesting
Yeah.
to see how that goes. And I'm looking forward to hearing you talk about it and seeing the results. I like that too. It's like the winner of this gets to have a chance to play the champ. Like here's the
Yeah.
chance. Like here the winner
Yeah.
gets, you have to get another match. Like here's another match for you. Have fun taking down this guy
Yeah.
I
who
would probably
literally
lose. Yeah.
reached peak flow state in the finals of Catch and Flow and literally won by some God knows how measure. But he literally tapped in to. I wanted to jump in and talk about this for a second, like probably 20 minutes ago, but
Dude, imagine you get picked and then Yasu just hits the cam on you, bro, and then you just get embarrassed.
dude, and imagine this: like Yasu doesn't play at all the entire event. He's like, I want him. He's watching because he's busy because he's watching the event. He's like, all right, I haven't played in 3 hours. Let's get it, and he destroys you. Like he destroys you. You're like, yeah, I'm warm. I've been flowing, and you go, and he's like, okay. And then he literally is like 1 second and he comes back out. He has Joker face paint on again. He's like, wait, what? And then Soma Fujita's there in the crowd with a GoPro. No.
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 It's Cyber Devil now, bro.
This Cyber Devil. And then like the same music comes on with the catch of the final, and you're like, oh fuck.
Just look around, you're like, oh god. Oh god.
You're like, wait, I have to get ready for my face to be shown at the end like Shinosuke. I'm gonna be on camera.
It's just like shove the camera on.
And then Yasu's gonna
knock
be
the
like,
camera out of his hands.
Yeah. Yasu's gonna give me like a bro hug at the end, like, oh, we killed it. It's like, dude, I just wanna leave. Like Shinosuke in that moment was like, dude, I wanna go out
dude.
so bad.
A selfie, and he's just like, yeah, man, I just beat you, bro. You know,
You knock the camera out of his hands, he loses all the power. That's so fun. Yeah, man, it says right here, Yasu versus Unknown freestyle super match, Jacob versus Hikaru, Juru versus Mizuki, Kengo and Nobu, Soma and Kentaro, Rin and Noah, Maharu and Madi. Ooh.
That's gonna be really good.
Me and So, and then Shinosuke Ryoga, Takuya Kaito. So yeah.
Yeah, see, that's just a monster lineup, dude. That's a monster lineup.
Crazy.
God
Crazy.
damn, that's a monster lineup.
Dude, this
Isaac.
is all-star game, bro.
Yeah, literally, it's just all Japanese players. So, hey, Isaac, are we gonna be able to see some? A lot of Japanese players are coming to EKC this year, dude. Are we gonna be able to see some Lotus players next year, dude?
We're gonna do everything we can to get some players out this year to NACO if it's in person.
Let's go.
Oh yeah, is it in?
I hope it is. I have not heard anything about that, even when
Yeah, I haven't either.
I was on
feel like
Sphinx.
they should
I don't know.
probably say something pretty soon.
Yeah.
But if
Well,
it's
that's
in
just-
person, I'm doing everything I can to get at least Maharu out.
Yeah.
Maharu really wants to go. So
Yeah.
That'd be
No, that'd
massive for representation for Lotus. So
I can imagine battle too. I mean, we just need to get these players out. Now that Tio did a great job with getting them out to EKC, they just need to show up and not let another Westerner win another event at any point.
Man, God.
Like, you know.
Oh God. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I hope NAK was in person. I haven't heard anything about that. I should probably ask.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll get an answer, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you probably won't get any answer that the public doesn't know.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Awkward.
yeah.
Anyway.
Isaac, it's been an hour. I know we wanted to cap it at an hour. It's probably been an hour 20.
Midnight here.
Yeah.
I
So-
got so much energy from this, guys.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry about that.
sad.
Dude, I could tell you were tired after I felt bad, but like when we started talking, I was like,
He's back.
I was like, we're getting
He's back.
Yeah, dude.
Dude, you started getting me on form, bro. I just I won't stop talking. Yeah.
And we
Yeah,
just
man.
covered Tama spins. We didn't even cover anything else. Like this is yeah, like, we literally just talked about hey, for those listening, like I hope you enjoyed an entire podcast about Tama spins. Like no, because
Zach not
honestly
talking
it's
at
sick.
all.
It is sick. Like I'm gonna like nobody's talked about this, like well, except for you in depth. So I mean
Yeah.
it's really
Isaac
cool.
has tutorials on his Instagram or sorry, YouTube. Like really in-depth ones, really long ones, 10, 20, 30 minutes of how-tos, not just basic tutorials on, here's this tip, here you go. Like he goes in depth on technique. And so watch that to get a head start and a kind of like a cheat code to progression there. So it's a little shortcut. But yeah, check those out. We covered Tama spins this time, and then we kind of went deep in some other things, but yeah, I guess we can call it here, guys. We can just wrap it up.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Yep. See you
Peace
guys
out.
next week.
Let's go. Later.